Thank you very much for that introduction, Malcolm. Again, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Kay Mikishi, and I work with an organization called Intellect. And today the presentation is titled How Digitizing Contract Management Could Save Your Organization or you millions of dollars or Canadian dollars or British pounds, etc. So today I'll just go over the agenda here. I'll introduce about myself, why I'm qualified to speak on this topic. I'll go over digitization plus contract management. Where are things now and where are we headed in the future in terms of this topic? Specific digitization tools, what does it look like? How complicated is it to digitize? What are the associated time and costs? The ROI for digitizing contract management. So what are the actual numbers? What do we get? What do you benefit from digitizing contract management? I'll talk about next steps, and then last we'll have a Q&A session. So without further ado, just a little bit about myself. I have over a decade of experience in the digital space. I started off in digital advertising, then went into operations, and now I'm in the contract management space. I went to school in the UK, and currently I am working with Intellect, who has a product called CMX, and I work in business development. Intellect started about 4 to 5 years ago by two engineers that were working with large organizations such as AT&T, Honeywell, and in their process of configuring IT systems, they found out that contract management was really an overlooked space and that there were so many inefficiencies. And out of seeing that problem, they developed CMX, or Contract Management Experience, is what it stands for. And over the past couple of years, we are now serving clients such as Hitachi. Triumph is a large garment manufacturer based in Switzerland, but have offices in over 40 countries. As you can see, a few of the customers that we serve in the energy sector, in finance, in community college, in any colleges. NCFE is a nonprofit in the UK. So as you can tell, that our customers span a very wide-ranging across various industries, and the people that are using CMX span from finance to procurement to also HR, IT. Basically, anyone that's touching a contract has a need and use for digitization tool. So now that I told you a little bit about myself and the organization I represent, I'll talk a little bit about where things are at right now in terms of digitization and contract management. Some of these terms may sound familiar to you. Okay, so Contract Lifecycle Management Solutions, or CLM for short, is sort of the generic term that we're using across industries to talk about digitizing contract management. Within that space, optical character recognition, or OCR, is a common term that we hear in the industry. And this basically means automatically scanning documents, extracting your necessary data from it, and organizing it into a system. So in other words, it's a fancy name for data entry, right? With less error and just quicker process. Voice commands, talk a little bit about that later. Workflow automation, okay? Again, just a fancier, concise term of saying, hey, I want person A on my team. After they're done, I want the contract to be reviewed and signed by person B. After person B, I want it reviewed and signed by person C. So instead of having to send and manually send an individual email after you're done, or after person A is done with that contract, digitizing contract management, or CLMs, are completely automating that workflow. Likewise, there are real-time redlining and edit capabilities and technology that is allowing for more collaboration and, again, just more efficient processes. So what does that actually look like? Okay, now I'll talk about now I talked about where things are, I'll talk about where we're sort of headed in the future. So in terms of digitization tools, again, I'm representing a company called SysIntellects with a product called CMX. I'll show a little bit about our OCR technology, voice commands, where we're heading in the future. We're working on a product idea called Albert, inspired by Albert Einstein. So it's sort of taking contracts now, right, and making them smarter. How do we make them smarter, right? We are all hearing the term artificial intelligence, machine learning, but what does it actually mean? So Albert, essentially, we're envisioning Albert to be sort of an actual assistant, right? Living in your computer, living in the cloud, or living in your system that is helping you smartly manage your contracts, okay? And so this means voice commands. Imagine OK Google, or imagine Amazon's Alexa, right? You say, OK Google, you know, tell me what contracts I have expiring in the next month, etc. So giving commands to the product that we're currently developing right now, Albert, and Albert really becoming an essential and integral part of your team. It's sort of how we are envisioning this. Plus, you know, in addition to the normal contract management lifecycle, CMX has over 10 integrations, and we're working on more as more people are demanding different integrations. So we are very open and quick to develop various integrations. So what does this look like? Okay, so again, Albert, our sort of AI machine living in CMX. This is just a brief snapshot of what this looks like. And this voice command. So imagine me asking Albert, hey, Albert, what are my expiring contracts next week? And Albert listing out all the contracts expiring next week. Just to give you a sort of look and feel of CMX. Okay, this is our basic platform right now. And users log in. As you can see, many various integrations that we already have. And the first sort of snapshot that you see is the platform or dashboard. Okay, I won't go through all the features, and I'll be more than happy to follow up with anybody on this call to kind of go more in depth. But basically, taking all of your contracts, storing it in one central location, and getting smart analytics and feedback from it, and automation. Okay, so again, it's sort of this assistant or an actual contract manager or procurement manager on your team, an extra person, if you will, an extra assistant. So giving you real-time analytics, contracts due to expire, organized task manager. So every person on your team can know exactly what they need to do and when they need to do it by, and an audit trail. So for the managers and high-level people in your organization, they can always keep a track of what's going on with all of your contracts at any time. So I'm just going to highlight 3 of the main features that we're talking about here. Contract repository, as I said, storing all of your contracts in one central location. And on our team, we're very conscious about building technology and software for non-tech users. I'd say about 95% of the people using CMX now are non-tech users. So it's very intuitive, a one-stop sort of place here, location for all of your contracts that you see here, total number of contracts. It's organized by the contract number, title, etc. Okay, a search button and multiple tiers of searches so you can filter through. Okay, and again, like I said, I'm going to kind of skip through a lot of this and just give a high-level overview, since the goal of this is how digitizing can benefit you and your organization. So this is just a snapshot of the repository. The OCR, the optical character recognition technology that I mentioned to you before, this is also living within, this is a part of the CMX platform. And how that works is a simple let's say you're an organization and you have to migrate 100 contracts or maybe 10,000 contracts, right? And well, how do you do this? It's a simple drag and drop of any PDF, Word, or Excel file into this space and clicking import, right? So currently, our team is in development right now for that OCR technology. In terms of real-time edits, imagine Google Docs, okay? And you have internal people, external people logging into one document and being able to collaborate in real time with redlining happening in real time with the ability to make comments as well. Okay, so again, this is another sort of where we're going in the future in terms of digitizing contract management. So now that I talked a little bit about what that looks like, where we're at, where we're going, let's talk about ROI, right? So every organization is considered with, well, what does it cost to digitize? And then what am I actually getting in return? So how we measure it on our team is the risk reduction, okay, plus the increases in efficiency equals the ROI. And how do we actually go about measuring this? I broke it down, and again, I will be more than happy to forward this PowerPoint to you later, so you can look through the details. But basically, we categorized it in 6 different themes. So legal employee cost savings, efficiency savings in the overall contract management process, sales operations. Okay, so what is Albert? What is CMX and Albert actually contributing? Renewable contract savings, we'll go over that a little bit. CMX Albert with its AI is able to find opportunities, right, through its analytics and analyzing the contract smartly. It is able to find opportunities in your contracts and consolidation opportunities, such as consolidation opportunities. So savings from being able to consolidate your contracts, and then data entry savings, right? Moving all of your contracts to a database. What are the actual savings? Again, apologies, I'm going to blow past this very, very high level. Again, you can look over the details later. But basically, we calculated the ROI for a small enterprise, say doing about $1 million in annual revenue, and a half of that coming from procurement contracts. Okay, and roughly 10 salespeople, 3 attorneys, 5 non-attorney legal employees. I'll just briefly talk about how we went about calculating this ROI. So we did receive data from Goldman Sachs, and they published a report saying that a CLM reduces, on average, number of hours spent on contracts by about 20%. Okay, so what does that actually mean in terms of attorney attention being spent, legal employees? We did that calculation for $1 million organizations, about 90K. IACCM, another international organization on contract management, also found, after doing a study, that one organization loses on average about 9.2% of annual revenue due to just inefficient contract management. So if we assume that a CLM can correct that by 50%, again, for $1 million organization, that's about $46,000 a year being saved just by making the process efficient. Sales operations, the Aberdeen Group found that a CLM reduces a sales cycle by 20%. So let's just assume a CLM can decrease your team's man hours by 20% for the same sales. Okay, let's just say conservatively, 10 salespeople, that's about $28,000 a year. IACCM also found that 20 to 30% of contracts are renewable, okay? And CLMs can help manage these renewable contracts in 2 ways: by A, reducing efforts by 50% or more, and B, being able to renegotiate revenue with more foresight. So again, assuming 5% revenue increase with a CLM, that's about $25,000 a year being saved on finding renewable contracts and being able to take appropriate action steps on it. Likewise, with consolidation opportunities in the contracts, let's say a CLM can spot And again, these are all estimates, right? A CLM can identify about 10% of procurement contracts, opportunities to be able to consolidate that. And let's say out of the 10% they identified, about 3% of average savings on consolidations. So it's about 1,500. Okay, not that much, but every bit counts. And data entry. So our OCR technology is able to bulk import contracts, automatically extracting the data and automatically organizing it into a repository. So let's say an organization needs about 1,500 hours, and let's say you hire a freelancer to do this at $10 an hour. That's still about $15,000 just to import all of your contracts to a database. So calculating all of this, it's about 200K, right? So what are the costs associated to digitize? For our product, CMX, we have two different plans. One is on-premise, which means it's being hosted on internal organizations' servers. The starting point is $449 annually for one user. And we also have a cloud version, which the starting point is $39 per month per user. So doing the calculations, okay, the annual cost to digitize versus the annual ROI. Let's say there are 10 users in CMX. Okay, that's about $4,680 versus the ROI, which is about $200,000 from digitizing the contract management process. The time it takes to digitize is about 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, and again, these are based on our CMX standard onboarding process. And again, the ROI from those 4 to 6 weeks over the course of a year, about 200K. And again, these estimated ROIs and the way we went about it doesn't even include savings from other employees on your team, such as procurement managers or finance employees. So just as a recap, I went over today digitization and contract management, where we are at now and where we're headed towards the future with OCR, voice commands like CMX Albert, the workflow automation, and making contracts smarter in general. The digitization tools, I showed you a little bit got a sneak peek about the CMX platform in Albert. The ROI from digitizing contracts is about 200K, estimated for about 5,000 spend or cost to digitize. Okay, so again, just to recap, it's about the takeaway is 5,000 annual cost for about 200,000 annual savings. And our statement that I would like to make is that in this day and age, companies cannot afford to not digitize. Basically, with all this technology out there that is made very affordable to ranging from small to medium to large enterprises. In terms of next steps, if anybody on this call is interested in moving forward, digitization is already here, but if you want to get more involved in this process, thank you to IFPSM and the partnership we have with them, we are offering individual partnerships opportunities with individual IFPSM associations. And what this specifically means in general is a 10% commission to associations on this call for any sales made by your association. And IFPSM association members will receive a 15% discount on any subscriptions if they choose to sign up for CMX. A second sort of next step is also individual commercial partnership opportunities. So I know everybody on this call is wearing multiple hats. You are part of the IFPSM association, but you are also thought leaders in your own organizations and mover and shakers in your own individual organizations. And we do have various partnership opportunities with your organization. And the next step would be just to basically hop on a 10-minute call with myself. Here's my information. And again, I'll forward this to everybody later to talk a little bit more in detail of how to specifically move forward. So that said, we'll wrap this up with a Q&A session. So if anybody has any questions about what I talked about today, please feel free to ask me now. And let me go ahead and check that chat window in case any of you were asking questions through that. Yep, I received a message. Perfect.
Okay, maybe I can just come back into the call at this point, and first of all,
Okay.
thank you, Kay, for your presentation. I think this was Kay's first ever webinar presentation, and I was very impressed, Kay. The coffee you had earlier certainly helped you, I think. So a huge amount of information there. From my perspective, I think the second last slide was important to get across that really this is an opportunity for your own associations to consider whether it's an opportunity you want to pursue and develop with Kay and her organisation, because it provides an income stream opportunity for the association and a potential benefit to your individual association members. That, of course, is your decision, not mine. But I know Kay would be very keen to have an offline conversation with everybody on this call if you want to explore that. Um, can I suggest that those that have questions, that you unmute your microphones, and you can do that by looking at the control panel, and you'll see a green icon top left, and you just unmute your microphones and ask any questions. So I think also, Kay, this is probably the first webinar I've been involved in that, from what I can see, no one has dropped off the call during the presentation, so that's good news. And we have a number of new people who have joined during the presentation. So while people are just wondering whether they want to ask any questions, Kay, do you want to go through the questions that are on the chat box? So from Jose in Spain, he's asking about public sector and experience of CMX with public sector organizations.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jose, for your question. Definitely, we have experience with it in the public sector and filling out those tenders and lovely RFPs. Is supplier database located at cloud or at client company server? A great question. So we do both. We have on cloud and on-premise hosting. As I mentioned before, and again, I'll send all of these slides to everybody. Our on-premise costs are here, okay, and our cloud pricing is located on this slide. They both still take about the same, only 4 to 6 weeks to get up and running and getting the whole entire system uploaded into your organization. Next question I have here is, what maintenance dependence has a company from your solution? What maintenance dependence does a company from your solution? So I'm going to interpret this as, what sort of maintenance support do we offer for our solution? Yeah, great question. So we have maintenance support, ongoing tech maintenance support, and that is included in this pricing and the cloud pricing. It's from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So our headquarters is based in Texas for Central Standard Time. And yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Okay, there's one from Peep, I notice, Kay, which is supplier database located at cloud or at client company server? I think you've answered that, but you might just want to recap.
Absolutely. Yep. So we offer two solutions. So the on-cloud our cloud solution is located in the Amazon AWS servers, and our on-premise. So for example, we have Hitachi, for example, is an on-premise customer. And so we serve it on the Hitachi internal servers. Again, the onboarding is similar time frame. It's about 4 to 6 weeks. And how that works is done remotely. So we log into your internal servers through a WebEx or GoToMeeting, just like we're doing today. And our tech experts then configure CMX onto internal servers. thank you for the question. Hope that helps. And
okay, any other?
There are.
Yes, Malcolm, do you hear me? I have another question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. Kay, my question is, what do you think in your experience? Is this digitalization good for any kind of contracts? I mean, you know, I work in a public company and we are obliged to differentiate between a contract less than 18,000 euro and the rest of the contract. You know that the ABC normal contracts in a company with these contracts of less than 18,000 euros, I cover more than the 80% of my total expense in purchasing. And the question was if this tool is prepared for these little contracts, or also in your experience is also good for the strategic contracts.
Oh, absolutely, Marco. Any type of contract. So you can see in our analytics here, all of this, again, I'd be happy to set up a call for you and walk you through CMX a little bit more in depth, but all of this is customizable. So I'm talking, you know, Hitachi, some of our bigger clients, but we also serve organizations where they only have 10 people using CMX, for example, right? So any contracts from a couple, the value does not matter, right? So it could be a $1 contract in theory, and you could store that in CMX. So the goal of CMX is a centralized, smart way of managing contracts easily for anybody on your team in any organization. And yes, we definitely serve NCFE, for example, is a UK nonprofit. We also serve other nonprofits, and we're currently working with the Canadian government to implement this in some of their territories. And so, yes, public, private, nonprofit, we have customers, and we serve customers in all sectors. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for your question. I have another question here I'll take. Do you help in uploading existing supplier database to your solution? Yes, CMX has professional services, and as part of those 4 to 6 weeks of onboarding, we help migrate contracts over into CMX, okay, into this import contracts area here. Yes, we do help with that migration process.
Okay, we've been running for 30 minutes, so we're bang on time. I just think if there's any other questions, if we could have them just now. What's this? There's one coming in here. No. I think perhaps, Kay, we're coming to a natural halt at this point. I don't see any other questions coming up, either through the chat box or verbally. So I think at this point then I'll bring the webinar to a close. First of all, thank you all for attending the webinar. I hope you found it useful. And thank you for staying on the call, which is some form of an indication that the time was well spent. Thank you to Kay for all her hard work in preparing our presentation and the delivery of the presentation. As probably the least technical person on this call, I think even I understood it, and it seems like an excellent opportunity which you could perhaps develop with Kay through an offline call with her, as it provides benefits to your association and potential benefits to your association members, as well as those who are representing their own companies as well. So thank you all very much. As Kay mentioned, we will be sending out the slides. I've also recorded the webinar, and I will host that on the IFPSM YouTube channel, and arrange for the link to that so that you could actually go through the webinar at your leisure. So thank you all very much. And at this point, I will now close the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was
very
well
much.
worth the time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.